Welcome to the Gigless Podcast, a podcast showcasing the works and talents of those who lost their gigs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This podcast will feature a range of creatives from the tri-state area who are young visionaries and who contribute to their craft despite the recent events that have happened. Join us today as our host Remi Leibovic speaks with Christopher Selman, the multi-instrumentalist, composer, and guitarist for New Jersey bands Feed Me to the Forest and Blue Vervain. You can check out his music and keep up to date with his projects in the bio of this episode. Enjoy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Gigless, the podcast that is about all those creatives and musicians and artists and performers who lost their gigs during the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we have Christopher Selman as our guest.
Hey, what's up? How are you? Thank you for having me.
So, I always call you Selman. I always call you
Yes.
by your last name.
Yeah, most people do, so it's okay.
So
I'm not against it, but yeah.
I'm down for it. I feel like there's like a million Chris's in the world.
There is. It's definitely weird when a lot of people that have known me from years and years back all get together and then meet some of my other friends in the scene, or just friends in general, and then they hear everybody call me Selman. Like, why the fuck are they calling you that? Like, I don't understand.
So tell our listeners about yourself, what you do. I know that you're a musician. Tell them about, what you do, what you play.
I am a musician. I play four instruments, mainly guitar, but I also play tenor sax, synths, and banjo. I play in two bands. I play in Phoebe's the Forest and Blue Vervain, and I'm still a student. I'm studying music production at Bergen Community College, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So your main source of one of your main sources of income was gigs.
Gigs, yes, gigs, and I had a job, but now I have neither.
Yeah, unfortunately, what most people don't understand about at least having a creative lifestyle, even if you're a level of professional, you're always going to have that, side job plus your gigs plus whatever else you're doing on the side for income. And
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
absolutely.
There's no way to really sufficiently survive off just gigs, especially if you had to split it in between with your band members,
Yeah.
who actually set the show up and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a struggle.
So what instruments do you play so our audience can find out?
Right. I play guitar. I play tenor saxophone. I play like synthesizers and banjo. I'm actually taught on a guitar though, and I do know how to actually read music. I do know music theory. But all the other instruments, well, except for keyboards, everything else is self-taught though.
Yeah, I want to hear you play banjo now.
You want to hear me play banjo?
I definitely want to hear you. We need to definitely get you to
Oh,
play banjo and definitely go live on the Instagram with you playing banjo one day. That'd be
okay.
so cool. I
I'd
feel
be
like the
down.
banjos.
That'd be
I
really
feel like
funny.
I feel like it's so underrated. I love it though. I love the sound of a banjo.
It is underrated, and I don't really know how to play like any traditional like country or bluegrass stuff with it. I just kind of have it just to like fiddle around, or if I could fit it into music, I'm like, oh, let me try and fit like something like this in here. But like, it really is just an underrated instrument, and more people should play it.
Oh my goodness. So when did you start playing music?
Let's see. I'm gonna go back to my memory. I'm gonna say probably about 10. Probably about 10. I started taking guitar lessons. Um, I took it up until my freshman year of college, actually. But along the way, I was in band classes all throughout middle school and high school. So that's where I picked up saxophone. High school, I even was in marching band. And then my senior year, I led marching band. So I've always been involved in music. I've been involved in music for probably like 22 now. I started at 10. Okay, so yeah, 12 years, I'd say, probably.
Right. And so I know that you mentioned earlier that you're at Bergen Community College and you changed your major to music. What was it before?
I was actually a radiography major. So I wanted to do like
Uh,
radiology stuff. And by I wanted to do radiology stuff, it was like, oh no, my mom wanted me to do that. I didn't really want to
yeah,
do that. And
yeah.
yeah,
But
definitely was
that's
not going to work.
But that's like such a creative story is that like you always we try a lot of people try going for the thing that, society tells them to do, but then the creative person inside just like breaks out and is just like, you're not gonna control me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, my senior year of high school, my band director was like, his name's Mr. Nelson. He was like, listen, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna study music in college? And I said, no, probably not. It's not safe. I would love to, but it's not a good idea. And he didn't say anything. He wasn't opposed to what I was gonna do, but he did tap me on the shoulder and literally said, no, you're gonna study music.
Yeah.
And not like in a forceful way. He was just like, you're gonna study music.
Oh my goodness.
He knew.
So
And he was right.
so what's your typical gig look like then? Like what do you play what's like the average? Like do you play with a band? Do you play solo? Have you played like concert halls, bars? Like what's the typical gig?
I'd say smaller places like Boon Tunes, I played a lot, but I've also played plenty of bars like Clash Bar. Wow, why did I say plenty of bars? That's the only bar. Well, then again, I have played in Long Island. I played wow, I'm not gonna be able to remember any names right now.
It's
I played
okay.
Revolution Bar actually once. That was really cool. Um, but I mainly play with bands. I've tried to perform solo stuff before, but I kind of just do
Your own.
instrumental stuff solo, so I don't really tend to play that live very much at all. I do play with bands mainly though. I've played basements, a few different places.
But that's always good to know that there's a different range for your professionalism and for the listeners out there, our main focus, is again to interview creatives who have been affected by COVID-19 and that like, the income has for the most part ceased from that. So like can you tell our listeners who have never been in this creative position in your creative position as a musician what it's like with the build up to a gig and how bands really split the money because you
Okay,
mentioned that earlier.
right. Um, well, so building to a gig in what way? You mean like what set list are we gonna play, that type of stuff, or you mean how to get people there?
Not how you get people there, but how do you, I guess, for people that have never been into a show or people who don't know how smaller venues work, how does the band take home money from just say a bar or a smaller venue?
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So typically, the place itself will have a count. You need X amount of heads that need to be at said show, whether you're actually from the state bringing in people or if you're traveling. So when we played Brooklyn, they still said, okay, you still need to bring about 10 people once. And we did not bring 10 people, so we made no money. Um, but definitely have played and was told, yeah, you need X amount of heads, and usually you've been able to bring that much and then a little bit more. It's like, okay, now you get paid after that. So unfortunately, I have done a bit of a pay to play system in that, and between gas, splitting it with everybody. Usually, I just kind of relied on my actual job to be my income, and then that would just get recycled back into the band fund
Yeah.
for
So
whatever gas, or if we made enough money where it's like, okay, we could kind of put this towards like recording or something else.
yeah. Yeah, no, but it's definitely like what that creative lifestyle is about is that you're always either working one job to support the creative side and then if the creative side gets big enough then it can support make that lifestyle. But for the most part, I know a lot of people, and that's one of the reasons why we made this podcast, is that a lot of people were just getting by because of gigs primarily,
Yeah.
and they had like a main job, and they had like a day job, and then they would have all these gigs, and the gigs would help supplement a lot of the income.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So so what's your most favorite gig? Like what's one of the most like favorite ones that you had a great time, that you were enjoying yourself?
Okay. We played. This was a Feed Me to the Forest. We played a basement show in New Brunswick at our friend Fred's house. I'm just currently forgetting the name of the house, but it was a specific show that was signed up with like a bunch of our friends that are also bands that we
Was it
typically
on
play
Plum
with in the
Street?
scene. It was near no, it was near College Ave actually. Um
So for
oh my god.
context to to our listeners, New Brunswick he means is Rutgers, New Brunswick in
Yes.
central Jersey. And there's a ton of college students that just lease out houses, and then they have what we call in America basement shows, so shows in the basement. And what they basically do is, they bands perform in the basement, you pay a cover. That's another great way to get paid, is actually by playing basement shows.
Actually, that's probably the best possible way to get paid because usually almost all of it goes to the acts that are
Yeah,
playing.
yeah.
And it's not like X amount of heads or anything for that. It's like, nope, this is going to you. And it's really thoughtful and sweet and very grateful for those. But my favorite show was definitely in January of last year at that specific basement show because we're on a bill with all of our friends, and it was called like the Big Chungus show. So the entire show is a meme, and we're all like, "Yo, no, this band is gonna take on Big Chungus," and there was just a shit ton of people. Oh my god, we're all like, "No, we're gonna fight Chungus and everything," and it was such a meme. I loved every minute
This
of
man
it.
is
I really
crying.
hurt my thumb in this show. I like dove in at one point and somebody was like coming up
Oh god,
and
you dove into the
right
basement or into the crowd?
it's no into the crowd. Dove like right into the crowd. It was a rowdy show.
Oh my god, it's
And I
always
just
a
felt
rowdy
my
show.
I felt my thumb just kind of go like back in. I was like, ah,
Ooh, not fun.
not fun. No, for like the next month, my thumb did not feel normal, but I was not going to go to the doctor.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I gave up. I know that my dad listens to this podcast, but I used to mosh when I was
Yeah.
younger. And when I basically turned 18, no, that's a lie. When I turned, like, I think it was when I think it was like as soon as I turned like 21, I just stopped. I was just like, there is a point, because I knew I knew a girl that she basically, her ACL got messed up, and then she just got badly wrecked, and it was just like that point where it was just like, you know what? I don't
This
I
might not
don't
be
blame
worth
everyone. Like, I
it.
was just like, it's not worth it. Like, what are you doing at this point? I mean, I can get, like, if you're at a folk metal show and you're dancing to all the folk metal, like polka music and everything, and everyone's having a good time. That's cool. But like
It's
walls
not
of
a beat the
death,
shit out of each other type of crew at that. Yeah.
yeah, walls of death and all that other stuff. Like, I just got to the point where I'm just like, I am X years old. My body will not recover from this. And like, I don't get how people mosh without insurance, because sometimes you see like these older people and it's like you see these people that are like 20, they're 30 or 27. I'm like, you're not on your parents' insurance anymore. Like, you're not on health insurance. Like, what happens if you get like messed up? Like, you're paying that bill, you know?
Yeah, literally. Oh, speaking of which, there was a time I was at the meat locker and somebody grabbed a ladder and just threw it on the ground. I was like, "No, we're not doing this.
Oh my
we
god.
we are not doing this right now. Like,
I went
no."
I went to the Slipknot festival, the Knot Fest,
Oh yeah.
this past summer,
Oh wait, I
And
was there actually. Was that at PNC?
yes,
Yes, I was there.
we were all there, but we were spread out across the lawn.
Yeah.
I was there with like Paul, Chris. This just is for our listeners. I was there with Paul, Chris, the Eels of Love guys,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, Brandon, who has also been on our show. So I was there, and people were just, you know what? That was just that. At that point, I was like, man, this is like dangerous because people were just throwing the lawn chairs. People were throwing beers. Like the first song that Slipknot went and played, they brought a stretcher to the mosh pit. Like that's how bad it was by the mosh pit I was at.
Oh
Like
god.
it's bad. Like you don't think when you're younger you're like, oh, I'm gonna be fine, and then when you're older and you're drinking and you're moshing, like, ooh,
It's like, you know, if I just turn this certain way, I'm gonna be fucked. My back is gonna go out or something like that.
yeah. And
Like
they were
100%.
like, make way, he's out, he's down. I'm like, guys, we're like 5 minutes into the song. We're 5 minutes into the set. What are you talking
Oh
about?
god.
And and
I'm not surprised though. That was a particularly vicious show.
oh yeah, you had
Like I saw
people.
so many, like not even moshing, just like actual fights take place at that gig. And
Yeah,
it's like, yo, you people need to relax.
yeah, I saw a lot of fights take place at that show. And for those of you who are listening, PNC Arts Center is a one of the biggest outdoor venues in the state of New Jersey. So a lot of large bands will pull through, and moshing is particularly attuned to the culture of, metal, punk, all the metal genres in between,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and alternative and rock. And long story short, this Knot Fest was really weird. And if Corey Taylor listens to this, you guys teamed up with Volbeat, so you had all these like hardcore edgy guys that, and you literally, I'm not joking, I was there and I saw girls in snapbacks and Louis Vuitton bags drinking White Claws, and they're like, this is gonna be the best concert ever. And I'm like, y'all are the
What?
same girls that like bullied all, like, it was so weird. I was in my metal gear, I
That's
had like my metal
weird.
t-shirt, everything, and then you had all these preppy girls. So it was like all the people that bullied you in high school and all the people that were bullied in high school. It was such a weird collaboration, that show. And
Oh
it's
my god.
Jersey, so it was even weirder.
Well, yeah, Jersey's just like you get such a melting pot of and just everybody. Like
Yeah,
it's so weird sometimes.
I I remember being like I remember being like 16 and going to a show, and there was this guy, and he was dressed in he looked like he just got out of like a Wall Street office, and he was just in the middle of the mosh pit. I just remember him because he had like a bright orange vest and some bright baby blue like collared shirt, and he was just letting all that steam go.
I guess even Wall Street guys need to, let it out sometimes a bit. Like, oh my lord.
Absolutely. And yeah, so we've talked about gigs and the different gigs that you've experienced and that we've experienced, and how has this pandemic like affected you? Like, can you take us back to when you knew that you were losing your gig? Because I knew that you guys, Feed Me to the Forest for context, had a couple gigs coming up. How did you guys feel about um losing your gigs?
I honestly, it all happened so quick. The very last gig that we played was supposed to be at Flemington DIY, but ended up getting switched to Zucchini's Pizza very last minute. Um, which was very late February because Flemington DIY, I think, was like, no, we want to take every precaution. That's very fair. And we said, this might be it. This might be the last show we play for a while. And we had two bands on tour from Ohio that were coming out too. So none of us wanted to bail on them either. So the guys who actually booked the show booked it at Zucchini's Pizza. We played there, and that was the last gig we had. We were supposed to do something in April that got canceled. We thought about setting up our own basement show, but then a week into a week before. Well, no, I'd say heading into the quarantine, it was like, this is probably the worst possible idea. Like, this is not safe, actually.
Yeah.
Um, so none of us have gotten together, obviously in person, because obvious reasons of the social distancing, to really talk about or express exactly what we're going to do now. uh, Especially because one of our band members is a first responder too, so it's
Yeah.
on the front line,
Yeah.
so it's definitely it's a lot of not knowing what we're going to do. Like, obviously it's definitely affected all of us in some way. I wouldn't put it I wouldn't necessarily immediately default to like economically, but in one regard or not, it has affected all of us.
Yeah, definitely. And how has this shift changed your art? Like, are you making more music while you're in quarantine, while you're self-isolating? Have you tried going live?
Tell you the truth, I haven't tried going live just because I'm shy. I'm shy to go live by myself. I'm not gonna lie. That's a problem. I need to like work on that and get out of that. I have been working on stuff. I just haven't really sat down and recorded it. I was working on an EP for like over a year of just like solo ambient like electronic stuff. And I think now's the perfect time to kind of just get picked up on that where I left off. So much of what I do in that field though is very improvisational though. So I'll work for like 8 9 hours on tracks at hand, like right then and there. Not really sit and write anything down. It's just like, okay, put this, layer this, add this. Oh, I have a good idea. Maybe throw some keyboards over there and sort of mix as I go along.
So when you're primarily solo, this is the creative process.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. How does
Because
that
not being
differ
able to get with
from?
the guys,
Yeah.
we're really sitting on a we don't know exactly what to do situation right now.
And a lot of musicians, from what just by interviewing people and being around the scene and having a lot of musician friends, uh, I've heard about this. I don't know if you've heard about this, but a lot of people are saying that recording things over Skype, Zoom, all that, there's a delay. There's like a second delay, and that second messes up a whole song
Yeah,
because someone's slightly behind, especially if there's a lag.
yeah.
It messes
It screws
everything up.
everything up. It makes live tracking very difficult because I know James has said, why don't we do it? Like, why don't we do it just over and over and over again? And it it's not that simple. It just doesn't work in a way almost like it's not that, you're gonna do it the right way or the wrong way. And
Who's James
for
for context?
oh sorry, James Paulson from Feed Me to the Forest.
Yeah.
But
And
for lack of a better wording, I guess that's how I sit on it, where I'm like, I'm not gonna do this if there's gonna be a delay or a lag. Like that, it makes no sense to do it. It's not gonna be performed right.
yeah, the pandemic has definitely made a lot of people that would do live shows or primarily base their craft about being surrounded by other people. It's definitely changed the way that we're interacting with each other
Yeah,
as creatives. And, you know, for anyone who's a new listener, all of this is recorded via webcam call. I'm not meeting anyone in person. And that's just one way that, technology's uh, helping us. It's giving these people a platform. But at the same time, uh, it's just not at the level that it needs to be for these people to make their music.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well put.
And yeah. So how have you coped with all this? Because I bet like losing all those gigs and just, you know, losing your sources of income is definitely hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard on me. It's hard for everybody out there, though, 100%. And you know, I'm really good at distracting myself and just kind of shutting off. But this is definitely different. Where like, yeah, I've shut off, but I can't kind of help but definitely feel really upset about this whole situation, but feel the strive to keep working in one way, but in another, almost feel hopeless.
Uh, well, your feelings are completely valid, and it's okay to feel a little lost and confused right now. I think everybody feels lost and confused because we are all in this together. And I mean, but again, like, are you coping with by making like new stuff, or have you been experimenting?
um, I would definitely say, yeah, that's probably part of it. Actually, I would definitely say because I have been working on new stuff, and that definitely has been good at coping,
Yeah.
especially because like when I shut down, I kind of could just lock into what it is I'm doing.
Yeah, we spoke before the show and you said that you have like a whole collection of all these videos and movies that you're just watching.
That too, yeah.
Are you,
That's a big influence on me to keep working on stuff because
mhm,
I love film. That was another thing I was supposed to be working on actually. I got asked to provide a bit of a score for like a short experimental horror film, but it was also going to be in collaboration with one of my friends.
yeah.
And he's the one who initially got asked, and then he asked me if I wanted to do it with him. He was going to send me the M4V, but being that we kind of can't be in the same room together makes it a bit of a task to sit there and work on it, especially if we're going to construct it in a very improvisational nature. It definitely benefits if it's not online and we're both actually in the same room, so one of us could either halt each other and say, wait, stop, go
Hmm.
back, do that, or
What's an M4V?
I'm pretty sure that's the actual film file. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
He just said M4V, and I was like, I'm gonna pretend like I understand what that is.
Okay.
I mean, I was
Yeah.
just assuming. I was like, I hope I could just drag this into like Ableton or Pro Tools and just kind of work from there.
Yeah. So that's good that you're trying to find, inspiration in the things that you like so much. And everybody's taking a look at this quarantine as a pause. Would you say that you're taking a pause to get back to your creativity or to get back to what inspires you?
um, I would say I wouldn't exactly. I feel like that's kind of a 50-50 answer for me because I do consistently work on stuff for me, no matter whether I'm working or not, because I just need to work on things. I have that desire. If I'm not working on anything, I feel utterly useless and like it doesn't sit well with me to not work on stuff.
What are some movies that you're looking at? Like, what's inspiring you right now? Or videos or films?
Some of the films I've been watching,
Hmm.
I watched Edward Yang's Yi Yi yesterday, which is like a 3 hour Taiwanese coming of age drama film that's about a three generation family. It begins with a wedding and it ends with a funeral. I'm definitely trying to be vague about it because people need to see this movie. Um, and it goes through three generations of family, and there's not really one single main character. It's the entire family as a whole, including like the in-laws and how the consequences of decisions being made um, affects the whole familial unit as a whole.
Wow.
I thought
That
it was a
sounds so
really
interesting.
beautiful quarantine film. There's a lot that's to it too, because I mean the actual actors that are kids were non-actors. It was literally just like an
Hmm.
actual like 8-year-old boy and 13-year-old girl that play like the kids' perspectives of things. And this is like the first film they've ever done, and they're absolutely incredible in it. So I
Oh my
watched
God.
Ye,
I'll definitely put that in the show notes for people to
definitely.
find it.
It's Edward
Um,
Yang's last film, also, because then he spent the next 7 years battling colon cancer and he passed away.
yeah.
So when you go into it with all of that into it, I think the film hits a little bit harder when you get to the
Yeah.
ending.
I guess that's just another thing because I was thinking back to that Slipknot show, and I was thinking back about how theatrical metal really is, at least like rock and metal and alternative. Because, Corey Taylor puts a lot of effort into the direction of those music videos, whether people find them pleasant or not. Um, and I feel that a lot of people get inspiration from music from film. A lot of
Oh
people
yeah.
will go out and say straight up, like, you know, um, Bela Lugosi is a really big influence to a lot of bands. I don't remember where I heard that, but I just know that
Oh
that
yeah.
whole style, and I don't know, but there's a lot, and
The
Hitchcock
dark.
too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially
Yeah,
in that heavier stuff. I would say like a lot of dark silent horror stuff. Hitchcock. I would say a lot of people really, really love David Lynch. Especially because he's very mysterious and very experimental.
yeah. And so, are these, inspirations going to bring you into some new projects?
Definitely. I'm trying to incorporate that as much as possible because I really love the thematic tones of films and how it could set music, whether there's actually music in the film or not. I think most films should have film scores, and I think it really could elevate what a film is going for. But even then, I think so much of that could really influence what you would do in, say, a band, or
Mm,
even when you're drawing or painting, even like not even music related, where it's just like, okay, how does this make you feel in this current
yes,
moment, like in this
yes,
current experience?
yes, absolutely. I think, yes, so Kandinsky was I want to say, yes, Wasily Wasilovich Kandinsky was a Russian painter and art theorist that actually he was the first guy to incorporate um, music and into paintings and say this is it. This made me feel this way, you know. And I
Kandinsky?
think, yeah, Kandinsky. I'll put him in the show notes so people can understand him,
Oh, okay,
and
please do. I was
you'll
actually just
see.
about to write that into my phone, but like, you know what,
Yeah,
that would be better actually, because then I could
Wasily
just
can
go grab it.
Wassily, I'm butchering that first name, but Kandinsky is his last name. He's definitely in like all these big modern museums, and he was a very experimental artist, but his it's just so interesting to listen to the music that he was listening to while painting the paintings and then just being like, wow, this guy made it.
Yeah, this guy
And
really made this. Yeah, like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
he
of course.
sophomore year Remi listening to Let the Bodies Hit the Floor from painting an art class. Our art teacher allowed us to do like a Kandinsky big painting experiment. So I put on, because I was a little screamo emo, like goth
Nah,
girl,
I mean,
whatever. I put on Let the Bodies to the Floor, and I just started like painting and like doing drawing. I think I
but
just made
was
a
it?
lot of lines.
What were you painting in a very rough way, or was it like actually just very subtle and sweet? Because I feel like that could go one of either way. Isn't it
I don't
something just really just
like
over the
remember. I think
top?
I just made something. I don't even remember what it was. Like I'm just like, I don't know. Like at this point, I don't know. Maybe I'll make something and I'll send it to you.
Please, oh my lord, please.
Yeah. And so where do you see yourself in the near future? Like when this whole thing ends?
um. Well, before I got fired, they told me I could get my job back if I reapply. Um, once this is all over, hopefully I could do that again. I don't know how honest they were, so we'll see. Um, but hopefully, when this is all over, I'll be at least finished with the semester. Hopefully, I would have made some sort of an EP or just worked on something that I think is ready and presentable.
Yeah.
Honestly, as soon as it's over, I just want to get back to work immediately, like day
Mm.
job and gigging again. You know, practicing, coming up with new material, and
Do you
you know,
think that you can put together like a little EP, a little experimental album during this time?
I mean, it definitely would be very easy because I could literally just like throw things at the wall and just record it and be like, all right, here. But like something I could just really work on. Um, you know, maybe.
Yeah,
I think I could. I think I genuinely have enough drive to actually just power through something and just put out a reaction, like a response, I guess.
definitely. I mean, everybody's working with limited resources at this point when it comes to, uh, at least I know a lot of people that are still in school, they still use the studios at Bergen to record things and play in the MIDI lab.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not
So
anymore. Oh, that's been very strange for having recording classes because it's like sort of getting used to that system where it's like, okay, you're not going to turn in the most savvy of projects. And we understand that because resources.
is Sue still doing it at Bergen?
Yeah, yeah.
Professor Sue.
Oh, you had Sue Williams?
I had Sue Williams. I was her worst student. I was an animation student and they were making me do things. And she's like, "Are you deaf?" I was like, "Maybe."
Oh
She didn't
no.
say that. She was like, "These
Oh,
aren't
because
on
they
mute." I
what they
was like,
make you take like sound for visual media as an art.
They made me
Yeah.
take something really intense for, no, it wasn't sound
Oh, they
for
made you
visual
take
media.
record beginning recording. That's why you had Sue, because if you took sound, you
They
would
made
have
me
had
take something
Dan
they made
Sheehan.
us and all the animation students take something really intense. And I was just at the point where I was just like, "Oh my God, I don't grasp." Because let me tell you guys something, and by you guys I mean my audience. Composing something is so difficult. I don't care if you listen to a genre of music your entire life and you're the biggest fan of whatever band. When it comes to the technicalities of orchestrating songs and pulling things together, it is so difficult, especially if you just never done that before. And that's what this class was basically composing things from scratch. And for me, for someone who, I have a passion for music in the sense that like I really love a lot of different bands. I like a lot of different genres. Um, I I was in choir for, several years. And when I got in front of that computer and she was like, compose something, make something, I was mind blank. So for guys like you, Selman, I have so much respect for.
Oh, thank you. Just you could listen to whatever you want. You could know what you're doing, and sometimes you get in front of a computer, you get in front of an instrument sometimes, and you expect to do something, you freeze. That
Yeah.
goes for anybody or everybody. That goes for people that have been, doing this probably for like 25, 30 years even. Like that's you know, that's not an individual feeling. Don't feel, like you were alone in that by any means, because that's
Yeah, but
everybody
it
goes through
just
that.
yeah, but it definitely showed me that, when people mix, it's not just about it's so much, it's so in depth.
Yeah.
And um our producer Dane, shout out Dane Wagner,
Shout out
um
Dane.
he's taking all these MP3 files that I'm sending him, and we're basically making MP4 files out of them, but he's going to edit all the mistakes in this podcast. He's going to fix all the background noise. If there's background noise, he's got it. And he's just able, he goes deep into those technicalities of sound and he can just make it. And I'm like, oh my God, I would have just never known how to do this.
Bless this man.
He's the
Bless
sound
this
guy.
man. How long does it usually take for you guys to like work on this stuff?
A day.
Bless you, Dane. Oh my lord.
He's really good.
Oh
And
my god.
yeah, because I'm a graphic designer, so I'm able to snap and whip up the cover, and then we use iMovie for the most part for just the output of the podcast on YouTube.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we're working with what we got, and WordPress is free, and I build websites. So I just built and organized our entire WordPress within a day. And then it got better through the week because I found like errors, but that's basically what we're working with.
You guys need to get paid for this.
Oh my God. I wish everybody that comes on
Everybody needs to get paid.
Everybody needs to get paid.
Every single person deserves a paycheck. I don't care.
Absolutely. We will definitely, I mean, we're going to experiment with that in the future, but that's great that you're exploring different ways, with working what you got.
Yeah,
Working
definitely.
with what you got.
I mean, I think that's definitely what being a creative is about. Sometimes it's like, all right, work with what you got.
Yeah.
Even if it's minimal or if it's a lot, it's like, okay, work with what you got. If it's minimal, it's even better in one way because it's like, all right, now try different things.
Yeah. So we're getting to the end here. What are your final thoughts that you want to say, or what's your hope? Where do you see yourself again in the future? And yeah.
My hope that not just me, but all local artists out here in tri-state area, or just doesn't really matter wherever you're from, that we're able to play gigs again, if not for economic sanction, at least for like emotional validation rather than anything.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful thought because I want the gigs to come back. I want everybody to go back
And for the
to
people
a
that are
show.
missing them too.
The
people that
are
don't play
missing
but miss them.
Remember those days where you could turn down going to your friend's really bad show?
Yeah, you regret it now, huh?
Yeah, you regret it now. I'm just kidding. All my friends are very talented musicians, but my schedule as a designer is sometimes really bad. So
No,
it was just like awful. But
listen, real life, reality gets in the way a lot for a lot of
absolutely.
things, it's never to be held against people.
Absolutely. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode with Christopher Selman.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, so we'll see you again next time.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the Gigless Podcast, hosted by Remi Leibovic and produced by Dane Wagner. The song used for our intro and outro is Beach Walk by Unicorn Heads. If you enjoyed this podcast, head over to our social media pages on Instagram at Gigless Podcast and our website, giglesspodcastblog.wordpress.com. There, you can find out more about the artist, contact the host and producer, and find out more about our schedule. Thank you.